Big 12 Men's Basketball Power Rankings. Cincinnati climbing entering Feast Week. Welcome to Feast Week, Big 12 style. In one of the best weeks of college basketball each season, it's a good time to learn more about teams. Who is for real? Who is not? Who remains a question mark? For the Big 12, the battle for Atlantis and Maui Invitational should offer good looks at some teams off to strong starts but facing several questions. Of course, teams we all know are title contenders also have measuring stick matchups. Let's get to this week's power rankings. 1. Kansas. Last week. 1. This week versus Duke, Tuesday versus Furman, Saturday. What to know? The Jayhawks are dominating the paint with Hunter Dickinson. Not a shocker, but it's a huge problem for opponents now that Kansas guards are consistently scoring. 2. Houston. Last week, 2. This week, versus Alabama, Tuesday, versus Notre Dame, Wednesday, versus Rutgers, Saturday. What to know? Houston can get a key top 10 win and some SEC revenge with a win over Alabama in the Players' Era Festival, but its bench has to show up. 3. Iowa State. Last week, 3. This week, versus Auburn, Monday, versus North Carolina/Dayton, Tuesday, versus TBD, Wednesday. What to know? A year ago, the Cyclones' non-conference schedule was incredibly weak, offering minimal information challenges. That changes this week in the Maui Invitational. 4. Baylor. Last week, 4. This week, versus New Orleans, Wednesday. What to know? Give Scott Drew some credit. He created a tough schedule after declaring his Waco love with tacos. The Bears are 2-2 against top 25 teams, though. 5. Arizona. Last week. 5. This week, versus Davidson, Wednesday, versus Providence/Oklahoma, Thursday, versus TBA, Friday. What to know? The Wildcats appear to be only as good as Caleb Love. Unfortunately, he has not been very good of late, a problem entering the battle for Atlantis. 6. Cincinnati. Last week, 7. This week, versus Alabama State, Wednesday. What to know? Day Thomas is back from an injury and is coming off the bench. He makes Cincy even deeper and better. 7. Texas Tech. Last week, 6. This week, versus Northern Colorado, Friday. What to know? Tech's duo of Darian Williams and JT Toppin is a big problem for opponents. Williams, in particular, has caught fire offensively. 8. Arizona State. Last week, 9. This week, versus New Mexico, Thursday, versus USC/St. Mary's Calif, Friday. What to know? True freshman Jaden Quaintance is averaging just shy of 4 blocks per game. He's a big reason for the Sun Devils' impressive start. 9. UCF. Last week, 8. This week, versus Milwaukee, Wednesday. What to know? The Knights left Orlando and immediately lost to a top 25 team. Tough break, but they need to show they can win on the road. 10. ECU. Last week, 11. This week, versus Santa Clara, Thursday, versus Colorado State/Washington, Friday. What to know? The Horned Frogs' big man Ernest Udeh Jr. is dealing with a lower back injury that has recently cost him a few games. Better safe than sorry right now. 11. Kansas State. Last week, 10. This week, versus TBE, Monday. What to know? Kansas State coach Jerome Tang is looking for more rebounding. He might have found it, but it won't arrive until next season when Tyreek Smith arrives after recently leaving Memphis. 12. BYU. Last week, 12. This week, versus Ole Miss, Thursday, versus Purdue/NC State, Friday. What to know? A year ago, the Cougars were a delight to watch shoot the basketball. They're a tad bit too streaky so far this season, though. 13. West Virginia. Last week, 13. This week, versus Gonzaga, Wednesday, versus Indiana/Louisville Thursday versus TBD Friday. What to know? New Mountaineers coach Darian DeVries received a very rude welcome to the backyard brawl with Pittsburgh. The battle for Atlantis, beginning with Gonzaga, won't be any nicer. 14. Oklahoma State. Last week, 15. This week, versus Nevada, Sunday. What to know? The Cowboys are still streaky shooting the basketball, a concern. But what they lack on offense, they make up for on defense with their tenacity. 15. Utah. Last week, 14. This week, versus Mississippi Valley State, Tuesday, versus Eastern Washington, Saturday. What to know? The Utes squandered a double-digit lead to Mississippi State, their toughest non-conference opponent this season. That is not a good sign for year one in the Big 12. 16. Colorado. Last week, 16. This week, versus Michigan State, Monday, versus UConn/Memphis, Tuesday, versus TBE, Wednesday. What to know? The Buffalo started strong against a soft non-conference schedule. Now, the fun begins with the Maui Invitational opener against Michigan State.